Mary Lynn, thank you so much for joining us on Theater People.
You're so welcome.
I'm excited to get into, obviously, your career has expanded across nearly 50 years in our Atlanta community. And, I'm really excited to get into all of the depths of it. But what we really would like to start is just right at the beginning. When did you first fall in love with theater?
Well, probably when I played Linus when I was in 5th grade in my church choir production of Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. I did the little dance with the blanket and I was hooked. And I'd never seen a play. And I didn't see a play again, ever, until I went to college. I just knew from that point something felt right. And then we reprised the production when I was a senior in college and I played Snoopy. But those were my only 2 experiences of theater. I grew up in a family of storytellers, but I'd never seen it. I didn't even really know much about theater at all. Something just spoke to me and said, hey, you need to go this way.
Wow. And did you always know that Atlanta was going to be the destination for your career, or did you ever consider a different city?
Oh, yes, I did. I did actually. I moved to a different city in, I think, 85 to 87. I tried New York. And I was also, exploring the end of a relation or not, whether a relationship was going to continue. But I went there thinking, let's just see. And I waited a lot of tables, and I really got to love the sunsets on top of my building every night. I would climb to the top of my building and sit and watch the sunset. I read a lot. I made a fabulous friend who is still a dear friend to this day, but I don't think it was as much of a exploratory career time as it was an internal time when I looked back on it. And I came back to Atlanta to see if this relationship was going to work. It didn't, but I began working immediately. So I'd worked pretty well up until then, decided let's give New York a go. It was almost like a little interlude of not working there for a minute. And then I came back to Atlanta and just kind of started working almost immediately. And I thought, it's the work. I need to be where the work is. That's the most important thing. And the work was here. And so I stayed here. And my life kind of unfolded from there. And I began thinking, yeah, I can make work here. So it was a real kind of eye-opening moment for me.
And what were the early days of your career in Atlanta like? How would you describe the theater community at that time?
Oh, it was hard scrabble and wonderful. It was, I was in the early days of the Academy Theater. I was pre-Chris Kaiser at the Academy Theater. I got there in 79, and I was a part of the Apprentice Company and was quickly made a member of the main company. And I was there with Kenny Leon and Carol Mitchell Leon and Jeff and Lisa Adler before they started the Horizon, and Rosemary Newcott and John and Margaret Ferguson. Jody Feldman actually sort of apprenticed under Margaret Ferguson. It was like a hotbed of DIY theater. And if I could compare it to any other theater group, it would sort of be like Atlanta's version of Steppenwolf at the time. We were very physical. We did a lot of touring of our own developed material. We would do these workshops on Saturday morning. For 3 hours, we would do these physical transformational workshops. Our guru leader was Frank Whittow, and he was sort of this real fundamental theater maker in the city at that time. We really only had right around that time, we had the Academy Theater, which is where I was. And interestingly enough, there were some very vibrant, active Black theater companies that were run by Black theater artists. The work was amazing, and it was Joe Mondi Theater Company, Just Us Theater Company, and I think there was a theater company called People's Survival Company, and there were these hotbeds of theater that really celebrated Black storytelling. There was also Seven Stages, who was doing all of their risky sort of international work, and we were all, I think, trying to make a living, but nobody really was. We were just working our, day jobs, making our theater. and it was a very, I think, a physically demanding, but a very soul-enriching time. Because I think we all just felt like, yeah, let's just do it.
Throughout your career and your time in Atlanta, you've performed at countless major theater organizations here. You performed at Actors Express, you performed at Alliance Theater, Aurora Theatre, Synchronicity, just to name a few. Was there ever a production or performance that has felt particularly career-defining for you?
Well, it's funny. In a funny way, I think they all are. There's something about each role that, kind of helps develop and refine or strengthen a muscle. You discover something in every role. And but there are some standouts. When I think of Our Town, playing the stage manager in Our Town was very just eye-opening. I thought, this part is a woman's part. This needs to be, it is a woman's part.
Yeah.
Because women are so attuned to cycles and change. And the Glass Menagerie was, it felt like a real moment in which my life and my art were coalescing as a mother and as a character. And there have been plays I've done here at Actors Express that, for Cabaret, I had not done a musical since college. And so that was particularly thrilling to do that. Also, Wit was another time when I felt that my life was informing my art, was informing my life. That always happens, but those shows in particular felt like I was really able to marry the two in a way that felt particularly fulfilling.
So I want to go back to Wit for a second. You starred in Aurora Theatre's 2016 production of the show. What was it like for you to lead a production tackling, it's of such magnitude, but also tackling mortality in a way that feels incredibly raw? What was that experience like for you?
It was incredibly raw. and it was just fundamental blessing. Sometimes I think actors are the luckiest people in the world because we really get to live inside of a moment very, 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 very deeply. And a funny thing, when Aurora offered me the show, I'd forgotten that the character's naked at the end. I just forgot that. I just didn't even know. I just went, yes, say yes. And the funny thing is, yes, she's naked at the end. I hope that's not a spoiler. But she's naked throughout. And I found that to be such a gift. She's spiritually naked. this character, Vivian Baring, began stripping herself down. And that was such a blessing to be able to do. And one of the reasons I think actors we're the luckiest people in the world, because we get to do this. We get to live so fully and to share that. And my father had just died prior to rehearsal. He had died in October. We started rehearsal in January, and I was at his bedside. I was with him in those last days, and there was not a moment ever in that rehearsal process or in the show that I did not feel him with me, ever. He came on stage with me, and every night, and I think that's the other magnificent thing about theater, is it can bring the dead back to life. My father was alive in that show. So that show's a landmark. It really is. For me, and I think for anyone who plays it, and Carolyn will be amazing. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And, I can only imagine the beauty that you were able to find throughout that process, given, the heaviness that came before it. And I just appreciate that you sharing that with us. I want to go back to, in a way, a very different show, but also one that is just as emotionally rich, which is you played Fräulein Schneider in Cabaret at Actors Express.
Fräulein Schneider.
Pretty recently, too, and it earned you your Suzi Bass Award for Best Featured Performer in a Musical. And I know that you said earlier that it was your first musical that you had done since college. So what was that experience like for you, especially an iconic musical like that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I love her, and I love Herr Schultz, and the cast was such a bonded family. And I would stand back just in awe of these people, these young people who do everything. I was just so gratified to be blessed to be there. It was fantastic. And I love her story. Fräulein Schneider is pragmatic, but there's such a tender, broken heart underneath. She's flawed. She's very vulnerable, and it's a love story. And in the end, she breaks her own heart. And it's just wrenching to have to do, because every part of me wanted to marry Herr Schultz in that play, and to not be able to do that. Because that's what the play dictates. You don't marry the love of your life here, the love who's going to see you through the end of your days. No. To say no to that was, again, it was a funny way of marrying personal and art. I guess that's how I work. I guess I always try to find some foothold in my life that anchors me in the play, and I know, my husband and I have been married for 35 years. We're in an interracial relationship that was not as common then as it is now. And when I think of, when I think that I might have said no to that, to life with him and with my family, that's what I took also on stage, thinking, look at everything she's giving up,
And, I remember watching you on stage, too, and with a show where so much pain happens, the audience can't help but cling to this relationship that they see.
Yes.
That they're like, this will be the reprise.
This one will work. Yes.
And it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's devastating. And I appreciate you sharing that story about also kind of the personal draw that you have to it, because it really contextualizes how grounded your performance was, how authentic it was. You felt like a person that we all knew. You felt incredibly familiar, and it was special. It was truly something
Oh,
special.
thank you.
I want to talk also a little bit about, in addition to being an actor, you're an incredibly accomplished playwright.
I would know, but I would know incredibly accomplished.
I find you to be incredibly accomplished. Anybody who has the opportunity to look at your body of work, you have written quite a few really incredible plays. And one of which I want to talk about is KNEAD, which received its world premiere at Alliance Theatre, and then went on to be performed at Aurora Theatre. Can you talk a little bit about that play for those who are unfamiliar with it?
Oh, sure. It began as a series of essays. I was writing essays about my life. I'd had a string of, I guess, calamities and heartbreaks and that I couldn't quite make sense of. And I was just, not that you ever can really make sense of those kind of things. But I was just writing about them and essays and stuffing them in a drawer. And occasionally I would take them out and I would show them to my dear friend David DeVries, and I would say, look at this. And he would say, this is really good. What are you going to do with it? And I would say, I don't know. Why do I have to do anything with it? And I would stuff it back into the drawer. I'd write another one. Something would happen. It was just a string of things. Significant losses in my life, sort of in conjunction with absurdity. I found out that I was having twins the same day that I learned that my little brother had AIDS. That kind of conjunction was happening in my life. And that was back during, the early 90s when there was no extended shelf life for people who had AIDS. It was a death sentence. And so life and death kept converging in my life, birth and death. Then my mother was killed instantly in a car accident shortly after my twins were born. Do you talk about my father's death years later? And then somewhere in there, I lost a breast to a mastectomy. This all sounds just, I know, like a lot, but I lost it. That ended up afterwards being not cancer at all. I just kept thinking, what are these slings and arrows of life? How do people get through a life? How do people do this? And I would just, and I would show these things to David, and he would say, that's great, but what are you going to do? So finally, I'd written something, and he said, you know what? Stop giving me these things. Make a play. He said, you don't know anybody in the publishing world. What are you going to do? Mail this to the New Yorker? It's going to sit in the bottom of somebody's desk. And I said, okay, I don't want to make a play. I don't know how to make a play. I don't want to make a play. And he came over to my house one day, and he had been, he's the godfather to my kids. He knows my life. We were sitting in our family room, and he said, what if you make bread in the play? And this light bulb went, and I said, okay, I can do that, because my mother was this amazing bread baker. My mother was this sort of conglomerate. My mother was such a Renaissance person. She was Cuban-American. She was in a mixed marriage with my father, who was from South Georgia. My father, very grown up in this very tight-laced, non-emotional, very subdued, conservative Southern family, and he marries my mom. My mom, who comes from this loud Cuban, partying, talk, really, really opinionated family. And my mother, in marrying my father, sort of sacrificed her life. She moved to these little towns in South Georgia, she sort of began subduing herself. And as her daughter, as a daughter, you see, your mother so well, and your daughter. And I wanted to think about how she was who she was. She played the cello. She baked bread like a crazy person. She was trilingual, Spanish, French, and English.
Wow.
She was, the first in her class, in her family to graduate from college, and she was the first in her class, and my dad was the second, number 2. So she was this amazing woman, and I kind of wanted to see, how does my life intersect with hers? What do we lose or gain as women in family? And also, what does it mean to assimilate? Because she assimilated. She was, and then, funny thing was, my abuela became this very strong anchor in the show. She was the, Marilyn, this is what you do. Boom, 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 boom. She was an anchor for me. She was my compass. And so I made this play in which I tried to follow my mother's recipe for life. Well, I say life, for bread. It ends up to be for life. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I can't make her recipe. I have to make my own. But her recipe throughout the play, as I make bread in the play, her recipe fails. And the one that eventually works, it's lumpy, it's misshapen, it's not my mom's, but it's still okay. It's good. It's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible, and I think what a beautiful love letter to your mother, and also too, I think, a story that many young women in particular can relate to, which is watching generations of people kind of compromise for family, and
yes,
and not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but we see it and we feel it.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's what an incredible piece. That's true. And also that you're baking bread on stage.
It's funny. I having never written a play, baking bread really taught me how to write that play. Because, you mix things, then it rises. And I actually had to take the bread baking process and put it up on the wall with my script and go, okay, because there's this wonderful punch, when you make bread. Have you ever made bread?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, do you punch it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That was my favorite part as a kid. Just boom, boom. And I knew where the punch was in the play. I knew when I know I have to punch at this moment. That is the biggest impact of the play. That's when everything deflates. And so the bread baking process became really a process that taught me playwriting. I'd never written a play. And the funny thing is that I learned in a real firsthand way, you'd think I would know this, things have to happen in a play, in the moment. Something has to happen. I can't be saying, it's not past tense. I can't be going, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then this. That's storytelling, A play is active. And that's when I realized I have to fail in the play. I have to fail. My whole construct has to fall apart. And that's part of the story. I got to do something about that, because what I tried in front of all these people who I can't explain why there are people watching me. Just like I can't explain that there are things popping out of the kitchen that I don't understand. A tricycle comes out of the refrigerator. Various things come out of drawers. I what is this night? And why are people here watching me? And I fail over and over again in front of these people. And then I realize, oh, they're part of the process too. They're part of bread baking too. They're in the story.
And, also what a cool parallel to have a show that is very much following your mother, your abuela, and all through the kind of like undertones of food, because my mom's Peruvian American, and I feel like a kind of commonality with a lot of us who have Latina mothers is they love us through food.
Absolutely. And I love my kids through food.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Because food is so much more than just the things that we consume. It's our culture. It's our family. It's all so much passed down through that.
Yes.
And
it's
precious.
storytelling.
It is.
Do you have sobremesa?
Sobremesa, no.
I bet you do.
Do I? I probably do, but I don't realize
It's when after you eat, you linger at the table for hours.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
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 It's been 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And my family in Miami when we finally get up from the table. Because of course, we make the food, then we eat the food, then we talk about the food, we talk about how we made the food, but then all the other stories come. And they come, and they come, and they come. And finally, then we have dessert, and now it's 10, now it's 11, then somebody pours more wine, now it's midnight. We're still talking.
Yeah.
At 1:00. And that's my favorite thing in the world, is sobremesa.
Yeah. Because family, it's community, it's so much, those moments, I think.
Yeah.
They're so tender, and you're right, it is always, it's post us eating.
Yes.
It's always, that's when all of the family drama gets talked
all the
about.
Drama gets started. Somebody says something, then we got to fight about it.
Yeah.
Or we got to talk about the thing that we promised we wouldn't talk about last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they feel like these moments that are grand, but also moments like you can hold in the palm of your hand. They feel so precious.
Yes.
And
And so sometimes so crude. Do you talk about body functions?
Of course.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I also want to talk a little bit about your play, Salvage.
Oh, okay.
So that play was a finalist in the O'Neill National Playwriting Conference. Can you talk a little bit about the story of that play, the process for creating it? Just give us a little insight on it.
Well, it's a story of a family in the middle of a big transition, and not all their cards are on the table. And at the end, you find out that the transition isn't quite what Mom said it was. It takes place in a falling down house, and surrounded by all the stuff, the detritus of life. Mother's packing it up frantically, and her grown children are under the illusion that she's moving, but well, first it's just that she's cleaning out. Then she says, well, I'm moving. Wait. And then you find out that moving isn't exactly what she said it was. There's also a grandfather upstairs. And I think they're really in the throes of grief and unpacking, packing, revealing, coming together, moving apart, and trying to figure out in a practical way, but also in a metaphorical way, what are we supposed to do with our lives together as a family? Do we salvage what we had? Or do we let it go? Or do we make our family into something new right now? Yeah.
And in addition to Salvage, you also wrote a play called Lady Parts that was a semifinalist also at the O'Neill National Playwriting Conference. Can you talk a little bit about that play as well?
Sure. It's a play about older women who just, go ignored everywhere in the grocery store or everywhere. And the main character is a talent agent, and she keeps sending all these women, older women, into these very nondescript parts where they don't even have names. It's just distraught old. I actually one time on a movie set, the name of my character was Distraught Woman Number 2. I wasn't even number 1. I was number 2. And I thought, who are these women who just have no names? And so the play is sort of a takeoff on how do we get older as women? And it's three sisters and their three husbands. And Eleanor and Franklin Roosevelt also make an appearance. And how do we live as older people? How do we find our next chapter?
Now, in addition to your career as an actor, as a playwright, you're also a professor at Emory University. You teach theater studies. When did you first begin teaching?
In 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought you to it?
I think Michael Evenden asked me to come. He's the chair now. And I think he said, we just need somebody to come. And so one class turned into several classes a semester between two colleges. So I would call myself the Rhodes Scholar because I'm going down the road to Oxford College and then coming back to Emory. Oxford is Emory's 2-year school, and then teaching at the main campus. And so intro to acting. And then that would sometimes morph into other things like improvisation, or I taught once at the Candler School of Theology. I've taught workshops there. And now I teach one class a year. I've scaled back, but it's my favorite class. And it's called Taller de Teatro en Español. It's a workshop, theater workshop in Spanish. Mm. And we are teaching, my co-professor Elva Gonzalez and I are teaching students how to act in Spanish, but we're sort of mashing the two so that their Spanish improves as they act and their acting improves as they speak. Mm. And the Spanish, basically, it's a different way of learning Spanish, learning a language. Because if you know and you have a compelling reason to say what you're saying, suddenly it's, so much more than ¿Dónde está el baño? Or, it's, I need to say something to you, and this is why. So,
wow,
that's what I'm doing now.
Wonderful.
Oh, and I'm directing in the fall.
Oh, what are you directing?
At Emory. I'm directing Fool for Love by Sam Shepard.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, what's been some of your biggest highlights getting to educate emerging young artists?
Oh, introducing them to themselves, to their bodies and voices. It's really thrilling to see, and especially now, because I think we're all becoming people who sit a lot more than we do much of anything else. And so when you can show a young person that, oh, no, your hand can speak, your contortion of your body speaks, your voice has range, you can thrill, seduce, stop traffic, commit a crime just with your voice. That's so thrilling to me, to introduce people to what they didn't know they could do. I love it.
And I'm curious, how do you feel like the Atlanta theater community as a whole has kind of evolved from when you first entered it to now?
Well, when I first entered it, like I say, there were pockets, of theaters and these wonderful Black theater companies. I think, though, that what I see now I see artists as multi-hyphenates in a way that I never saw back in the 70s, 80s. And I also see, and 90s, and I also see people staying here more. Back in the day, we thought we had to leave. And, kudos to people like Lisa and Jeff Adler, who did not leave. And, Del and Faye at 7 Stages, who did not leave, and Tom Key did not leave. And, I think, and Chris Kaiser, and I think there are these sort of grounded landmark people who just dug in and said, no, theater belongs here. And so I think I see that commitment now in a way kind of across the board that I didn't see back then. And also I see actors who write, and oh my gosh, like in cabaret, actors who dance, sing, act, play a musical instrument. I see these hyphenates. People produce. They do film. They produce film. They write film. They do their one-person shows. Then they produce them. Then they teach. I mean, it's just so many. The pie is so big for one person, a lot bigger than I experienced back when I was coming up. So I'm just really astonished at the skill set that we have here. Like when I came to see Girl from the North Country, and this was the same with cabaret, the voices we have here, the singers. I think the talent is more dynamic, and it just keeps getting better, stronger, more dynamic, more multiversed, and I think that's exciting.
Thank you for watching this episode of Theater People. To learn more about us, please visit our website at theaterpeoplepodcast.com, where you can find all of our episodes and learn about ways to support and engage with us. Theater People is produced by Actors Express, Atlanta's destination for fearless theater. A special thank you to the Georgia Lawyers for the Arts for all of their support.